この自然は美しいですね。はじめまして。私の名前はエムスン・ジョズです。よろしくお願いします。今日、日本の気候変動について話したいですが、このトピックは本当に面白い。そしてとても重要ですよ。さて、行きましょう。ところで、ここからは英語で話します。じゃあ、行くぞ
This presentation was created by Ash Werner, Celicia Garza, Charles Burns, and Emerson Jones. Japan is mainly divided into four major islands: Hokkaido, Honshu, Shikoku, and Kyushu, with several smaller ones littered throughout. According to the Köppen climate classification, the country's climate is generally classified as humid subtropical, but this varies wildly from the north to the south. Hokkaido, for example, is classified as a humid continental climate. What this means is that Japan receives a lot of precipitation throughout the year. In the winter, northwesterly winds carry cold air from Siberia to Japan, leading to heavy snowfall in regions like Hokkaido, with milder snow in more southern regions. Meanwhile, in the summer is the Bayou, or the rainy season, which brings significant rainfall over the western and southern parts of Japan, mainly on the side of the Sea of Japan. In autumn, however, the Pacific side of the country is met by typhoons, dropping temperatures and bringing refreshing wind. Because of all this precipitation, it has been said that the nation's average annual precipitation is almost double of the world average. Japan's agricultural sector includes crops grown such as soybeans, wheat, barley, sweet potatoes, and most importantly and predominantly, rice. According to the USDA, there are approximately 1.55 million hectares of land set aside for growing rice, although that number has been decreasing year after year. This decline in farmland is mainly due to industrial use, roadways, residential use, and other forms of urbanization. Furthermore, Japan's land has been scarred by disasters such as earthquakes, tsunamis, and the Fukushima nuclear spill, which contaminated many agricultural sites. However, Hokkaido has seen an increase in farmland, making it responsible for 14% of the nation's agricultural production. Despite this, though, the sector is overall declining. According to Lawrence Pines, Japan's economy is the fourth largest export economy in the world. Furthermore, it is ranked the second most advanced economy, has the third largest nominal GDP, and the fourth in purchasing parity power in the world. Most of their economic success comes from their exports, which include cars, motor parts, integrated circuits, refined petroleum, video games, and many more. The sectors most responsible for Japan's GDP are services, industry, and agriculture. Because Japan's terrain is mountainous and natural resource poor, the country has to import goods from China, the United States, Australia, and South Korea. These goods are listed as fossil fuels such as natural gas, coal, petroleum, and things such as clothing and agricultural products. As for Japan's demographics, the country has a population of about 125 million people, according to the CIA. Because over 30% of the population is the age 65 or older, that means it is currently undergoing a population crisis where there are not enough young workers. As such, Japan is currently trying to encourage population growth through policies, and is also considering the possibility of allowing more immigration. The culture of Japan is incredibly rich. The country has hundreds of shrines and temples, as well as festivals, unique architecture, and various practices and beliefs that make the nation so distinct and vibrant. Not only that, but the country boasts impressive infrastructure thanks to its subway systems and bullet trains, with a plethora of urban cities serving as major tourist attractions. Now that we've talked about some of the general characteristics of Japan, it is time to talk about how climate change is affecting the country as a whole. First off, coastal regions have become increasingly more at risk of flooding due to sea level rise and extreme weather events. In September of 2018, for example, Typhoon Jebi flooded an international airport and left thousands stranded in Osaka Bay, killing 9 people in the process. On average, the sea level rises 3 millimeters a year, which can lead to complications such as saltwater intrusion of aquifers as well. Sea level rise of just 1 meter could threaten the hopes of 4.1 million people in Japan, and currently the sea level is the highest it's ever been. The city of Osaka, being a major coastal city, has over $200 billion worth of assets that are being threatened to go underwater in the coming years. Climate change has also caused a shift in rainfall patterns, causing precipitation to fall less frequently, but much more intensely when it does. In July of 2018, western Japan was hit by a devastating downpour which flooded thousands of homes and killed 200 people. These rains can also trigger mudslides that cause further property damage and loss of life. These annual instances of precipitation have increased 50% since the 1970s and are only expected to continue further. Just in 2020, Kyushu faced heavy rain that killed 64 people and forced 200,000 to evacuate. The monetary damage was estimated to be 556 billion yen. These instances of flooding also create prime habitats for pests like mosquitoes to lay their eggs, leading to the spread of infectious diseases such as dengue fever. Japan is also experiencing biodiversity losses. Japan is home to over 90,000 documented species. Climate change, according to Ogawa Onishi, threatens to make 30% of the amphibians, reptiles, freshwater marine species, and 20% of the mammals and plants extinct. Increases in ocean acidification and temperatures is also leading to a decline in fish populations. According to Mainichi Japan, declines in fish catches have been seen in salmon, Japanese flying squid, and Pacific sauri, with record lows in 2019. This not only harms the fishing industry, but also Japan's food supply and the health of its marine ecosystems. Also, many, if not all, of Japan's coral reefs are dying due to bleaching induced by rising ocean temperatures. According to McCurry, 70% of the reef in the southern Seksei Lagoon has been killed as a result. Reefs are extremely vital aquatic ecosystems that provide economic and aesthetic value to humans. Their loss would be a major blow. Now that we've talked about some of the ways that climate change is impacting Japan, it is time to talk about what Japan is actually doing to confront these problems. Japan has stepped up its efforts to address all of these issues in the past years, and is becoming more aggressive in achieving goals such as carbon neutrality. These efforts have been a mix of both mitigation and adaptation strategies. Coastal regions, which are faced with rising sea levels and intense typhoons resulting in larger and more powerful waves, have looked into raising their ports to minimize these risks. However, this is extremely costly. The ports of Tokyo, Kawasaki, and Yokohama would have to spend around 19.5, 67.7, and 34.5 billion yen respectively in order to raise their ports with the use of gravel and sand. Furthermore, this does not factor in the cost of building demolition and rebuilding, which could bring the total up to 120 billion yen. Still, it could suffice as a temporary solution and is also better than the alternative of thousands losing their homes. Other cities like Shibushi are using kaisen breakwaters to keep increasing tides at bay, particularly during storm surges. However, as climate change makes waves stronger, engineers will have to consider new breakwater designs and renovate existing ones. Furthermore, while breakwaters have long lives, the cost to install them is still extremely high. Their stability is also threatened by the increasing intensity of typhoons. These breakwaters would have to be installed in many of Japan's litany of ports, which is a huge economic burden. When it comes to flooding, Japan is also trying to adapt to the ever-intensifying super typhoons by promoting river improvement. This entails dredging riverbeds, improved water retention through natural land conservation, developing inland water drainage facilities, and constructing water-resistant buildings. These could help areas like Kyushu that suffer from soil with poor infiltration rates. For areas like Tokyo, companies like Tokyo Metro Co. are developing anti-flood countermeasures such as floodgates and drainage pumps to keep the subway systems of the city flood-free. This allows many residents to evacuate from flood-prone areas without having to shut off the subway system, and relies on advanced technology called DPR to monitor and predict rainfall patterns ahead of time. Aside from that, however, the government is currently working to quicken response times to flooding events, ensuring that medical and rescue services can assist people in flooded regions faster. To save its endangered species, Japan has enacted a multitude of strategies. This includes protecting endemic species, such as the Amami rabbit, by getting rid of invasive species that hunt them. Another strategy involves regulating the use of pesticides and fertilizers to allow for more amphibians and insects to thrive. Species like the endangered toki bird also benefit from increased food supply. To protect marine species, Japan has promoted aquaculture, public education, and legal restrictions that intend to protect diminishing species. Unfortunately, many of these solutions are hard to implement and expensive, and sometimes the damage is already irreversible. That's why mitigation is much more preferable in the long run than adaptation. And mitigation means putting an end to the use of fossil fuels once and for all. Japan is the 5th largest country when it comes to carbon emissions, which is why it has pledged to become carbon neutral by the year 2050. According to Gigi, renewable energy generated 20% of Japan's electricity in the year 2022, with solar accounting for 8.3%, wind 0.9%, hydropower 7.5%, and nuclear 6.9%. Carbon emissions also dropped 20.7% compared to their emissions from 2013, meaning Japan is on track to meeting its goal of 46% reduced emissions by 2030. Japan has also set a carbon tax to further reduce emissions, being one of the first Asian countries to do so. The country hopes to use this revenue generated from polluters to pay for green transformation bonds, which promote and fund the development of renewable energy. They estimate that 20 trillion yen will be raised by doing this. Emissions trading is also being considered. Their basic energy plan also states that energy demand should drop by 17%, nuclear by 20%, and hydrogen should be promoted. With all that being said, here is what we suggest that Japan do further. While Japan is making strides in the right direction to mitigate and adapt to climate change, we believe that they should be doing much more. Their emission reduction goals should be much more aggressive to quickly transition to a carbon-neutral society, which means setting higher carbon taxes and incentivizing the production of renewable energy even further. Furthermore, as an island country surrounded by the ocean, we believe that they should look into diversifying their renewable energy portfolio by implementing tidal power into it. Many locations are suitable for it, including West Japan due to its tidal patterns. This could supply power to thousands and reduce the need to further invest into nuclear energy, which is already highly controversial. Tidal energy stations are also much cheaper to construct than that of nuclear power plants and could, in theory, be paid for by the green bonds that the government hopes to start issuing in the year 2023. The energy produced by tidal turbines in West Japan would also cost less than the current price of electricity. In Northern Japan, wave energy would be about the same price. The costs are only expected to continue decreasing, however, as the technology evolves. As it stands now, tidal power is a hugely untapped resource in Japan that should be thoroughly explored.
Ah, 今日はこれで全部です。このビデオを楽しんでいただけでしょうかい。見てくれてありがとう。そしてまたいつか。